Hello friends, and welcome to the third episode of our Chips Challenge playthrough. I'm uploading this video just before Christmas, in the middle of Hanukkah, and within range of a few other winter holidays. No matter what you celebrate, I hope you're having a great holiday season, and I hope the new year ahead looks promising to you. Whichever way, thank you sincerely for taking the time to watch my videos. As you might expect, these take a fair amount of my time to put together, and while I really enjoy the work, it's far more satisfying knowing that people like you enjoy what I create. So, emphatically, thank you, Happy New Year, and I look forward to putting together more videos and streams for you in 2023. There's not too much to say ahead of this week's video, except that I'm going to modify my initial rules just slightly. At the series start, I said there would be no save scumming at all. If the playthrough falls apart, so be it. I intended no reloading to undo bad luck or stupid decisions. This is still true. Mostly. In the first few minutes of this episode, Chip is going to make a choice that is, objectively speaking, narratively compelling but strategically terrible. Idiotic, really. This decision may mean the playthrough ends very quickly, and as I said, so be it. I'm also curious how things might have gone had Chip made the other choice. As such, I've created a separate branch save file, creating a possible world in which he never made that awful decision. I don't intend to play this file, and in a few episodes' time we'll probably have altogether forgotten its existence. For now though, I'll feel better about Chips making his choice if I can acknowledge it as intentional stupidity and have an out if we get punished for it. I think that's all I've got for now, though I should mention that there are links to the Discord server and the Twitch channel down in the video's description. I expect that most people watching are part of our Twitch community already. If you're not though, consider checking us out there too. As always, likes and comments are greatly appreciated. More viewer engagement means the YouTube new viewer encouragement mechanics smile upon me. For now though, thanks for watching, have a relaxing end of the calendar year, and enjoy this video. Chip slumbers, dreaming of self-sufficiency. All that exists in his tiny base is due to his ingenuity and labor. He cut the trees, made the clubs, and built the rooms. It's his sweat and his blood that sustains the life he's scratching out here. His identity as a survivalist is haltingly developing, and part of that self-conception is freedom. Chip can do what he wants. He's answerable to and responsible for only himself. All of that is about to change. Though it's about time for Chip to awake, the sky falls dark. An eclipse. A sign of bad luck. Will Chip's adventures today be as grim as the early morning retreating to dark? Or are there reasons for optimism too? We shall see. Down to the southeast, heavy footfalls sound, coming ever closer. Chip stays in bed, though he hears them. Ominous. We know, and Chip will soon find out, that the steps belong to an elephant, who we'll be calling Grobby. Thanks, Grobby, for the comments on earlier videos. Elephants are one of the most trainable creatures in Rimworld, with the abilities both to fight and to help out around the base. They're also ridiculously beefy, elephant-y, and hit like a truck, elephant. Unfortunately, the minimum animal skill needed to train them is 7, and Chip, as you might expect, is at 0. He's seen the occasional wild animals and killed a few chinchillas, but he's got absolutely no chance of interacting with Grobby for now. Since Grobby is heading toward the base, let's assume she plans to stay close by to Chip's home. Back there, I've created a zone for her, which allows her access to tasty grass and the river's water, though she's not allowed to come into the buildings. You might wonder how we justify this restriction, given that Chip's still asleep. Well, perhaps Grobby is respectful of Chip's personal space, or maybe she prefers the soft grass on her feet. Or maybe she has claustrophobia. Yes, that's it. Grobby has a mental disorder. Poor Grobby would far prefer to stay outdoors, and we respect her choices. We now come to another outstanding issue from last episode, the crash-landed kid. He's going to be uselessly paralyzed for 2 whole in-game months. But yeah, if you listen to the intro, you already know where this is going. As we accept, the kid would like to know what we call this place. I don't have a good story for how he knows the place exists, or how he asks Chip, or how Chip answers at such great distance and while asleep. Let's go with magic. Yes, it's magic. The kid's telepathic, but only this one time. Ooh, spooky. What a terrible waste of an amazing party trick. For a faction name, let's reject the earlier pessimism and call our group Chip's Hope. If Chip has any hope of having a decent life, it's going to be with this clan. And then for the settlement, let's pick a name to remind us of Chip's most heroic deed. Once he successfully picked 9 consecutive berry bushes. As such, the 9 bushes. Hopefully that's not to be the playthrough's grandest success. Good morning, Chip. He wanders outside, unsure about the early darkness, and from his peripheral vision, is that an elephant? No, just his imagination. Funny how his mind doesn't really want him to feel alone. But then, far to the southwest, a scream. Undeniably, it's human and it sounds young. We'll call its origin Dimmu. Thanks for your earlier comments, too. Without a thought for breakfast, Chip runs, scurrying across the wooden bridge and heading on south. Along the way, he finds himself among a family of wild pigs. There's the scream again, louder than before, sounding piercing, desperate. Chip hurries along. And then the source of this awful noise is in sight. Yes, it's a child, barely moving but emitting so much sound. Dimmu is helpless. Acting at once, Chip scoops the kid up into his arms. How did you get here? Why aren't you moving? Chip whispers reassurances. We're together now. It'll be okay. Dimmu nuzzles into Chip's chest, and for the first time since crashing, he quiets down. Returning to the base, the pair trek back past the boars, and then toward a massive metal monstrosity. In his haste to find the screaming Dimmu, Chip had rushed past, missing this blinking heap. He's filled with unease, but pulls Dimmu closer. Perhaps there's a way to understand more about this ancient machine, but for now, Chip doesn't know enough except to stay away. As a side note, disassembling this machine is one path to the mech content of the biotech expansion. Perhaps there will be robots in Chip's future, but that won't be happening anytime soon. Back across the river, holding Dimmu high above the water, and then home. Chip smells a whiff of, is that elephant dung? No matter, he's got to get the kid inside. And then Chip suddenly realizes he knows absolutely nothing about caring for children. He stares at the wall, dredging deep into his memories. Diapers? But Chip has no clothes. Baby food? But Chip has almost no food. At least the child has stopped yelling for now snoring quietly on the floor. Perhaps he needs a crib, a bed, a blanket? Chip's expression sours. The base's needs have quickly doubled, and with this new demand, he isn't sure whether he'll be able to care for anyone, even himself. Well, as always, what comes first? Food. He takes the last meal from his pantry and feeds the kid. Who knows how long it's been since Dimmu last ate. And then again to the berry bushes. Not a great deal of success in harvesting today, but that food would heat up. Yep, definitely an elephant. Chip blinks. Grobby seems harmless enough, nearly as surprised to see Chip as Chip is to see the beast, so with a shrug they both return to their work, and soon to sleep. Throughout the night, Chip wakes repeatedly, each time realizing that no, it isn't a nightmare. He is now responsible for a barely mobile 5-year-old. One last task remains from last episode, so we can imagine Chip thinking it up as he dreams of ensuring safety for little Dimmu. Building some traps would help tremendously in keeping the base afloat, but traps require 3 points in construction, and Chip is still at 2. As both Chip and Dimmu are currently full of food and there's a little extra to spare, perhaps I can invite him to move the campfire into a separate room, where its heat will be contained and we can ensure cleanliness while cooking. This work would give him a good chance to gain some construction XP as well. For this room's build, we'll have Chip head to the northern ruins. Disassembling these walls will give him construction experience points and raw fireproof materials too. Chip's familiarity with building comes fast as he learns by destroying. Halfway to 3 and the sun returns. Chip's earlier fear of bad luck subsides. In the sun's warm light, it's hard to imagine impending misfortune. Or perhaps he thought too soon. Somewhere deep in his mind, doubt creeps in. And not his normal everyday worries, but instead something fundamental. Something is basically wrong with Chip. While it's not the worst of all possible concerns, it's enough to sour his mood substantially. Regardless, back to home where Dimmu playfully greets Chip's return. And Chip has something for Dimmu too. It's time to make the kid a meal. And then another run at berry picking, this one nearly as successful as the last. The pantry once again full, Chip sleeps, and we plan his next room. Nothing fancy, just a few limestone walls, a wooden door, and the campfire. It'll be his kitchen, though for now it's his source of construction experience points. Hammering and mortaring, stacking and arranging, and then back to fetch additional materials. It's only a little more work before Chip will hit his goal, so long as he continues working. But he won't. It's again all too much. Shaking his head, Chip ambles back to base. That droning doubt natters along, and he's just tired of all of this. The work, the nudity, the near starvation, the sleeping on the floor, all of it. Chip stares into a corner, trying to hide from all the world, and Dimmu shouts out, not in delight, but in pain. Looking over, Chip sees the child's body move, though not of his own power. No, that writhing in his belly means only one thing: gutworms. Dimmu is sick. Perhaps that's why his family abandoned him out in the forest. Until the child's illness subsides, he'll be constantly hungry, the parasites leeching his sustenance, and the pain of little maws greedily gobbling. Chip winced, unable or unwilling to imagine just how awful the kid felt. Just a moment more of wandering, something to clear his mind, and Dimmu screams. His mood couldn't be much worse. What could Chip do to help? Applying his minimal medical knowledge, he rubs the child's abdomen, feeling the squirming mass inside. Though he wants to recoil, or maybe even to retch, he continues the treatment. It's a start. And besides, Dimmu somehow retains his childish optimism. Yes, Dimmu, even the gutworms are novel, aren't they? On the other hand, Chip worries about the child's sadness. He doesn't see any brightness ahead for Dimmu anytime soon. Chip again heads out to work, this time feeling like he'd rather be anywhere but at home. Dimmu just won't stop crying. All he says is, "Ow, ow, ow." Even this far north, Chip can still hear his plaintive wails. Chip hammers louder. And then finally some happy news. Level 3 in construction. Defenses are now possible. At that night's meal, Chip again notices the pantry has become empty. With a second mouth to feed, with thousands of parasitic mouths to feed, Chip realizes far too much of his time is being spent gathering. He nods to Grobby and heads to the bushes once more. Someday he'll have a nearby garden, just not yet. While he works to pluck food from the bushes, he hears another loud wail. Dimmu is starving. Chip hurries back with the berries, feeds the child, and then returns to his spot on the floor. How is he keeping himself together in such a bad situation? Ironically, his only significant source of happiness is his occasional expressions of despair. If Chip is ever going to get out of the starvation spiral, he's going to need to grow his own garden. So let's think about that. Pulling up the fertility overlay, we see that there's unfortunately little rich soil nearby. There's a bit across the river and a large swath north. Other than that, there's not much at all. So instead of nice soil, let's give Chip a nice view along the river's banks. Here are then 3 planned plots: rice, cotton, and corn. Clearing the land for these fields will give Chip plenty more wood, and if he can get seeds into the ground, he'll soon be rich with food and material for comfy clothes. Chip again offers Dimmu food, and Dimmu swallows it appreciatively, though he looks up and asks Chip to teach him anything, really. Chip stammers, muttering a few words about saying please and maybe being grateful for warm sunshine. He isn't sure how to teach Dimmu anything of value while the little one is immobile. All the lessons he knows requires Dimmu to be outside, or perhaps to be sitting upright at a desk. Chip says, someday I'll teach you all about where these berries come from, why the sun shines. I'll make things better. I promise. He regrets the words as soon as they're uttered. Later, working in the field, Chip realizes the best he can do for Dimmu right now is to keep him safe until they can learn in the outdoors together. So, finally, it's time for some traps. Chip knows these need to be placed in locations where they're sure to surprise enemies. He thinks an initial few outside the base's doors would work a treat. 3 basic traps at 45 wood each, definitely time for a fair few more trees to fall. Before prudently taking time to put up those important traps, Chip/I get a clever idea. Well, why not go hunt a chinchilla? Watching the playthrough video back now, I have absolutely no idea why I thought of this decision. Something gets some meat, something trap building takes a long time. No doubt Chip is bored and just looking for some more excitement, maybe a little more time away from his basically useless charge. But me? I know better than this. Let me say in advance, directly. Yes, the next few days of in-game time should have been played a little bit differently. Down Chip goes to hunt a chinchilla. This isn't the last one he needs to make his first set of clothes, but it's progress. He's getting really close. I'll spare you a play-by-play on this one, but Chip misses. A lot. This is his 5th missed shot. This is his 12th. As you see, he is now at the bottom of the map, so far away from home. Approaching the ancient danger, Chip finally gets the kill. It's taken him 27 arrows. Perhaps it's time to return to bashing things with clubs. At least Chip's gradually improving his shooting skill. Chip returns to base, carrying another small carcass. As he shouts a hello to Dimmu, who briefly stops moaning in pain to reply, Chip imagines where he'll soon place those fine defensive traps. Before too long, he and Dimmu will be good and safe with all of the traps built. This, as your middle school English teacher likely taught you, is called foreshadowing. More butchering, more fire building, so long valuable wood, and Chip gets an idea. Couldn't he just mash up some food for Dimmu instead of feeding him carefully prepared meals? Even if Dimmu insists he's too old for baby food and hates the mushy pablum, it's not like the youngster's mood could possibly get any worse. Chip, you're a genius, and perhaps becoming a little cruel. While heading to prepare the baby food for Dimmu, who's definitely acting like a baby, Chip notices the kid has vomited all over himself. Useless thing, Chip utters. Dimmu doesn't reply. Chip pretends not to notice. Grobby continues her thumping patrol. With the cooking done, Chip sighs deeply. He's again forgetting his humanity. What kind of monster would leave a child covered in sick? He mops up the room and the kid, quietly apologizing for his earlier words. Dimmu smiles and nods, about the only gesture he can reliably make. Later, Chip decides to have a quick meal before feeding the sleeping child. His stomach tightens. Yes, he's made himself sick again. His poor hygiene practices and clumsy cooking are to blame, and he knows it. Crinkling his nose up once more, he knows he'll learn from even this error. He goes back to sleep and, mere moments later, Dimmu's cries jar him awake. Again with the hunger. Always. But Chip is there, offering baby food. Dimmu pulls his mouth away from the pap Chip offers him. No, no, he squeals. It's gross. Chip insists. You must eat it or you'll starve. Dimmu complies unhappily. The child is convinced this food is unworthy for him, a child. After all, it's been, quote, made for a child. Belly's full, the sun again returns and Chip works. He's increasingly convinced that independence is a fool's game. Adulthood seems to be primarily working and sleeping, only to work and sleep again. And then there's the lump, and its endless whining. Chip frowns as scolding words arrive in his mind. He's not a lump. His name's Dimmu. He's a person like you. He's sick like you. Chip vomits and then encourages himself. Be better, Chip. Help people. That night, Chip's presented with an opportunity to improve, an opportunity to help someone. From far away, he hears a shouting man's voice. Please, she's after me. Save me. Chip isn't sure who this is or what they need, only that he needs to do better. He looks over to Dimmu and nods. He will be a better role model. That's part of what it means to care for the boy, part of what it means to promise a better life. Chip exhales hard. His mind is made up. He and the stranger will together fight off any danger. Chip hops up from his bed and yells, This way, come this way, you'll be safe here with us. Ha ha, wonderful, shouts the voice, which belongs to a man whose name we'll learn of in just a moment. Down south, the turban-clad stranger charges toward the promised security of Chip's base. This man will not fight. You can imagine how Chip's plan to repel the enemy together is going to work out. Nonetheless, the new guy is speedy and he prefers to be naked. At least he's aware of the colony's current dress code. He also has some useful skills, most especially in medicine. Perhaps he'll be able to help Dimmu clear the parasites a little more quickly than Chip would have alone. And then there's the cooking. That's better too. That's sure to help keep food poisoning at bay. Let's call this new colonist Bibo. Thanks for the comments, by the way, Bibo, and if I'm saying your name incorrectly, I apologize. One last thing about Bibo. His ideologian considers elephants sacred. Lucky for Grobby. Bibo jogs north, breathlessly shouting his situation. It's an imp. They breathe fire, and they move fast, but I'm coming. Chip casts his eyes round his mostly wooden home. Fire? No good. Wishing this situation away, Chip tries to catch a last few moments of sleep. And then the imp's voice sounds. Foolish, foolish, you're mine. Bibo replies, Not if you can't catch me. The imp, Larant, is a hulking mass, and she sure enough knows how to breathe fire. She's also better at combat than either of our mobile colonists. So, the traps. Surely Chip's gotten those up by now. Surely he has the wood to make one. Okay, more chopping. Bibo blazes into camp, grinning to the likewise naked man. They make speedy introduction, and Chip orders him to tear down the nearest tree. We need wood, now. Bibo complies, though he remarks that he hates to harm a living organism. It's so violent, and he hates violence. Truly, even in such a cruel world, why would we add to that by harming another? Perhaps Chip would like to see a pamphlet, or maybe to come and pray at Bibo's church sometime. Chip gets the drift, and he scowls, but he continues whacking at the tree's trunk. All the cutting is happening far too slowly, but they continue. And then the imp is close by, the smell of sulfur in the air. She pulls back her bow's string and lets loose. Twang, thwack, oh! Bibo shudders, an arrow lodged deep in his chest. Fight back, Chip demands. No, no, my friend, Bibo says through a gritting smile. She will know my pain and see her errors. She will repent. What a loon, Chip thinks to himself as he continues chopping. Bibo stumbles inside and tries to care for his wound. Dimmu, who had been closing his eyes in denial of the sounds outside, now stares at the man's bright blue turban. Bibu smiles as he intones gentle words. "Peace with you, child, especially on this day. Remember peace." Dimmu briefly forgets the horrible sounds of battle. Chip doesn't. He knows they need a trap, so he wanders to where Bibu felled the second tree. Thwack! Another of Larat's arrows strikes true, wounding Chip's leg. Grunting in pain, Chip continues on. For Dimmu, I must! He strains, and the imp runs closer. It's not enough wood. Again, he needs more. But with the enemy coming closer, Chip knows he must retreat and somehow return fire. His first shot goes wild, partially because of his food poisoning and partially because he wonders where Bibo has gone. After all, this battle is his fault. Chip shouts, "Come out here, man! If you won't fight, at least build a trap!" Bibo emerges once more, scurrying through the battlefield as he calls out blessings. "Lay down your weapons, find peace. Only your angry choices divide you." Chip moves forward to cover his quote-unquote fellow colonists' advance. Arrows fly between the two sides, and Chip is unluckily shot again, this time in the stomach. He gasps, realizing that this is how he will die. Bibo scoops up the wood, bounding along, announcing, "Strength comes from ideals, not from weapons." Chip is shot again. In his increasing panic, he's chosen a location with less than full cover. This is where he will die. Then Dimmu will be left in the care of that pietistic blowhard. "No, not yet," Chip chokes out, falling back behind his storage room's wall. He tries to care for his wounds and watches as Bibu works while somehow ignoring the imp's ongoing fusillade. "Don't watch, it makes me nervous," Bibo chuckles as the arrows continue to miss him. And then, "Oh, look what you made me do." He wastes more precious wood, but explains, "Well, no matter, we must always accept what we're given." The rain falls, and Chip realizes they no longer have enough wood to make even a single trap. He continues attending to himself, and Bibo returns indoors. Now seems as good a time as any to feed Dimmu. But then, with a snarl, Larat barrels through the door, blasting fire and glee. Nothing ignites this time, but the imp doesn't care. Her eyes lock onto the floor. "A child, yes!" Chip hears the beast's words faintly. No, stay focused. If you bleed out, you'll be really and truly useless." Just then, Bibu stumbles back out, smiling. "Oh, what a lovely, happy boy you have." Chip grits his teeth and collapses. Bibu begins to doctor him, while in the north, Gromby is shot by the invader, but somehow forgetting her massive size advantage, runs away. As another arrow strikes nearby, Chip returns to consciousness and leads Bibo to the other side of the base. The imp returns and Chip can only run. He's shot yet again, this time in the back. It's all too much. As Larat reappears in the doorway, Dimmu screams in terror. "Yes, mine!" Larat chuckles. Hearing Dimmu's screeching, hopeless noises, Chip turns back, firing his bow again. He misses. Again. And then the imp is gone, and Dimmu is gone. Chip falls to the ground sobbing. I promised, Dimmu." He trails off. There are no words to express the enormity of his pain. Standing over him, Bibu whispers, "Peace, peace, now only peace." Chip realized the righteous fool was right. This was the first moment of peace he's had in days. Dimmu's cries had finally stopped. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again real soon.